Good morning to you all. Myself, Professor Subhash Pingle from SKN Sinhagad College, Koti, Pandharpur. Today, we are going to start the unit number 5, that is a remote login. In the remote login, we have to study the two protocols in details. One is the Telnet and second one is the SSH. In today's lecture, we are going to start the Telnet. The basic concept of Telnet, it's a time sharing environment and network virtual terminal. These are the 3 points which we are going to study in details. So first of all, concept. So let me tell you the practical concept of the Telnet. Telnet, it is a client server application program. Means when the two system want to communicate with each other, at that time we can use the Telnet. Not only Telnet, there are also some other protocols are available like SSH, or some softwares are available like Putty software is there, then there is a TeamViewer software is there. This software and protocol also we can use. So we'll see how the Telnet works. So it is a client server program. Means we'll take one example. For example, I have the laptop and I want to access a machine which is available at the remote site. Means suppose that computer is available in our college at our department in lab number 401, and right now I am in the Velapur. I am having the laptop. I want to access that computer which is available in lab number 401. So how I can access? So to access that computer which is available in lab number 401, I need some configuration. I have to do some configuration on my laptop, as well as that configuration should be onto that system also. Okay, we'll see how we can configure it. So now I want to access that system, means that is nothing but the server. That system become act as a server, and I am here. I'm having the laptop. So the laptop which I'm having, it is nothing but the client. So client and that server. So that's what is called as the client server communication. So how we can access it? To access that system, we require or via the port number 23, and this is a reserve port number for the Telnet protocol. Keep in mind, the question may be asked in the MCQ. So Telnet uses dash port number. So Telnet uses 23. 23 is a port number which is used by the Telnet protocol, or it is a reserve for it. We know that 021024, 021024, these are the reserve port numbers. Then this 23 port number is used by the server. Okay, means the system which is available in lab number 401, and client also require the port number. So client uses the ephemeral port number. Ephemeral port number might be, for example, suppose let's say the 60,151. So this port number will be used by the client. Now once the connection is established between the client and server, and the data is transferred, and finally suppose the connection is terminated, then this ephemeral port number will be released. Okay, and that port number might be assigned to the some other computer. So it is used for the temporary purpose. That is nothing but the those protocols is called as the ephemeral port number. Now how we can configure it, this protocol, we'll see that. See, I am having the computer. So first of all, go into the control panel. Once you go in the control panel, then see at the left side there will be some uh, points. Out of that, click onto the first point, which is add remove some softwares. Click onto that. Once you have click onto it, a list of applications will be open. Okay, just find out the telnet applications. Okay, and enable it. It is a service, so just you have to enable it. Telnet client, telnet server is there, so just you have to enable. It is a inbuilt. Okay, when we are installing the operating systems, at that time it comes, just we have to enable it. So now, yes, we have enabled the service. So same thing which you have to do at the server also. Now once it is enabled, then go on to the command prompt, type there telnet and the IP address of the remote system, the system which you want to access. Okay, once you have typed that IP address, then enter. It will ask for the password, because definitely that system will have the authentication, so it will ask for the password. Enter the password. That password should be known to you, then only you will get the access. Enter the password. Once the password is entered, then you will get the access. Do the communication. Once the communication is over, okay, end it. That connection will be released. Now this is the basic concept. So let me tell you, the most important thing is here, while doing this communication, telnet uses the protocol. See, we have studied the different protocols in chapter number 2. That is a TCP, UDP, SCTP. These are the protocols which you have studied. Out of these 3 protocols, here telnet uses the TCP protocol. Keep in mind, because the question might be asked on this point in the university examination, okay, for the MCQ. So telnet uses the services of TCP protocol, okay, for the communication between the client and server. One more thing is, and it uses the port number 23. So this is a basic concept, how we can configure and how we can access. So concept, objectives: to introduce the telnet protocol and show how it implements local and remote login. First objective of this chapter. The second objective is to discuss options and sub options used in telnet and how they are negotiated. This part we are going to study in the next lecture. To define out of band signaling in telnet, to define different modes of operation in telnet, and to introduce SSH as an alternative to telnet. So this last point is very important. SSH as an alternative to the telnet. So telnet is a abbreviation for the terminal network. Okay, in this book it is given terminal network. In some book it is given telecommunication network. One and same thing. It is the standard TCP/IP protocol for virtual terminal service as proposed by ISO. Telnet enables the establishment of a connection to a remote system in such a way that the local terminal appears to be a terminal at the remote system. Means, from my laptop, when I am taking the control of the system which is available in our college, at our department, in lab number 401, I feel that system is here. See, and I am doing the changes. That is the feel I am coming over here. That is the advantage. That is the advantage of the telnet. So it uses a single TCP connection for sending both data and control information. We have seen every protocols, it might be the TCP, it might be the UDP, or it might be the SCTP or any other protocols. It uses the data and control connection. Control connection, it is used to establish the connection between the client and server, or we can say between the sender and the receiver, and in data the actual data is transferred. So data from the control character is distinguished by MSB char known as interpreted as a control IAC. We'll see about this IAC, even though in the MCQ on this IAC question might be asked. It supports inter-OS communication, and the telnet server uses TCP port number 23. I told you. Local login. So what is the concept of this local login? We'll see that. Local login and remote login. Before this local login and remote login, let me tell you the what we can say, the time sharing environment. What is actually time sharing environment? See, there is one server. Okay, one server, and suppose there are 10 clients, and these 10 clients having only keyboard, mouse and monitor. Okay, now all these 10 clients are uses the service resources of that server. It might be the hard disk or it might be the processor. Okay, but still these clients feel that we are having the processor, we are having the hard disk. Okay, so this is nothing but the time sharing environment. Every client sending the request means it performing some operation, it get back the result. Actually it is done by the server, but client feel that yes, my computer or that monitor itself does that operation, but actually it is not. So such an environment is called as the time sharing environment. So we'll see local login means what, why this local login is required. The most important thing is for the authentication purpose. Local login or remote login, where we have to check the authentication, whether the user is authorized or not. So when we are pressing some characters, that characters will be sent to the terminal drivers that passes character to the operating system, and finally operating system it passes to the application program, and then that program will be executed. Okay, so that is nothing but the local login means the laptop or the computer which is I'm having that computer, I'm having that laptop, and I'm getting that access. Okay, that is nothing but the local login. I cannot access the computer which is available at the remote site. For that we have to use the remote login. But even though local login also, how it works, just we are pressing the characters. Once press the character, that character will be passed to the terminal driver. Drivers are there, you are installing some drivers, right? So the terminal drivers, then that driver passes it to the operating system, so that which character is pressed, and the operating system it can understand, and it sends to the application program, concerned application program, then that application program will be executed. So that is nothing but the local login. User logs in a local time sharing environment with user ID or login name and password. Terminal driver accepts the command from the terminal and passes them to the OS. OS interprets the commands and run the desired application program or utility, which just I have explained it. Now the remote login. Remote login means just the system which is available in our college in lab number 401, and I want to access that system. So that is nothing but the remote login. Now how I can access that system? Because at that time we require the internet connection, right? And via that internet connection, that characters or the data will be transferred. So you can see in the figure there is a terminal means laptop, terminal driver, then I told you we have to enable the services of telnet. So telnet client, then it passes to the stack. This is the stack: TCP, IP, data link, then physical, okay, and finally it will be passed to the internet. Again here internet to the again once it is reached to that remote system, then there is again protocol stack. So physical, data link, IP, TCP. Then there is a server, because I told you if I'm having the laptop now to access that system, then that system become a server and my laptop become a client. And then whatever the data sent, that will be passed to the sudo terminal driver. We'll see why it is used, the sudo terminal driver, and finally that particular application will be executed. So used for accessing application program utility located on remote machine. User sends commands to the terminal driver where local OS accept them but does not interpret them. Commands are then sent to a telnet client which transform them to a universal character set called as the NVT, Network Virtual Terminal Character. This point we are going to see very soon, sets, and deliver them to a local TCP/IP protocol stack. Commands are then delivered to TCP/IP stack of remote system and hence to remote OS and pass to telnet server, where they are changed to corresponding characters understandable by the remote computers. However, the character cannot be passed directly to the OS because the remote OS is not designed to receive character from the telnet server. So it is designed to receive character from the terminal driver. It is designed to receive the character from the terminal driver. So that's why here we require the sudo terminal driver. So the solution to add a piece of software called as the sudo terminal driver, which pretends that characters are coming from the terminal. The OS then passes the character to appropriate application program. So by this way we can do the remote login. Clear? Now let me tell you the concept of NVT, where it is used. Because in between the local login, there is no need of the NVT in local login. But when we are doing the remote login, at that time there is a need of the NVT, Network Virtual Terminal. Means when I am sending the character from my laptop, okay, I am the client, right? When I want to send some data or some characters from the my own laptop to access the system which is available in lab number 401. So that data will be transmitted via the internet, right? Via the internet, and it will be when it will be reached to the that system, means that onto that server, at that time it should be understandable. Means for example, suppose I am having the laptop, onto that Windows operating system is installed, and onto the server there is a different operating system. Might be suppose Ubuntu operating system, means the system is available in lab 401. Okay, that system have the Ubuntu operating system. Now you know that Windows operating system have the different command to access some utility. Ubuntu operating system have some different command to access that utility. Means suppose I want to end a file in Windows operating system, then how I can end? Ctrl+Z. And suppose I want to do same, that is do the end of file in Ubuntu operating system. So which command is used? Ctrl+D. So it is different, right? So how that system can understand? Because I am having the Windows operating system, so I will pass the Ctrl+Z. But that should be the identifiable by converted into the Ctrl+D. So that work is done by the sudo terminal driver conversion. But from my laptop to that system, my laptop to the system, there is intermediate NVT which convert whatever the data is transmitted from client to the server into some common format, so that that system can, means that server can understand. So that's why we require the NVT character set. Clear? NVT means it is one software which is designed to convert the data into some common format so that both client and server can understand it. The reason is that client may have the different OS and server may have the different OS. The meaning of the characters and that is different. That is a concept of the NVT. So NVT uses set of characters, one for data and other for the control. Both are 8-bit bytes. Data 7 lower bits are same as ASCII and higher order bit is 0. Very important. In case of the data, higher order bit is 0. And in case of the control, highest order bit is 1. Keep in mind. Okay, because the question may be asked to draw the format of this data and control. So in case of the data, higher order bit is 0 and lower higher order bit. And remaining 7 bits are whatever the concerned bits. And in case of the control, highest order bit is 1 and remaining 7 bits are the whatever that data or that bits. So this is the format. See, you can see here data character, highest order bit 0, control character, highest order bit 1. This is the format. Into this remaining field, the concern data is concern information is inserted or data is inserted in both the fields. Some NVT characters meanings are given. End of file, okay, decimal which number is used, binary which number is used, and its meaning end of file. Then end of record, sub option end, no operation, data mark, break. So likewise the meaning of that character is given over here. So in this part we will see in the next lecture. Okay, thank you.